Hi everyone, welcome back to this video. We'll continue on where we left off. Personal computers. By 1974, Intel had launched a popular microprocessor known as the 8080, and computer hobbyists were soon building home computers around it. The first was the MIT's Altair 8800, built by Ed Roberts. With its front panel covered in red LED lights and toggle switches, it was a far cry from modern PCs and laptops. Even so, it sold by the thousands and earned Roberts a fortune. The Altair inspired a Californian electronics wizard named Steve Wozniak, 1950, to develop a computer of his own. Woz is often described as the hacker's hacker, a hacker technically, brilliantly and highly creative engineer who pushed the boundaries of computing largely for his own amusement. In the mid-1970s, he was working at the Hewlett-Packard Computer Company in California and spending his free time tinkering away as a member of the Homebrew Computer Club in the Bay Area. After seeing the Altair, Woz used the 6502 microprocessor to build a better home computer of his own, the Apple I. When he showed off his machine to his colleagues at the club, they all wanted one too. One of his friends, Steve Jobs, 1955-2011, persuaded Woz that they should go into business making the machine. Woz agreed. So famously, they set up Apple Computer Corporation in a garage belonging to Jobs' parents after selling 175 of the Apple I for the devilish price of $666.66. Woz built a much better machine called the Apple II, pronounced Apple II, while the Altair 8800 looked like something out of a science lab, and the Apple I was little more than a bare circuit board. The Apple II took its inspiration from such things as Sony televisions and stereos. It had a neat and friendly looking cream plastic case. Launched in April 1977, it was the world's first easy to use home microcomputer. Soon home users, schools and small businesses were buying the machine in their tens of thousands at $1,298 a time. Two things turned the Apple into a really credible machine for small firms. A disk drive unit launched in 1978 made it easy to store data, and a spreadsheet program called VisiCalc, which gave Apple users the ability to analyze data. In just 2.5 years, Apple sold around 50,000 of the machine, quickly accelerating out of Jobs' garage to become one of the world's biggest companies. Dozens of other microcomputers were launched around this time, including the TRS-80 from Radio Shack Tandy in the UK and the Commodore PET. Apple's success of selling to businesses came as a great shock to IBM and the other big companies that dominated the computer industry. It didn't take a VisiCalc spreadsheet to figure out that if that trend continued, upstarts like Apple would undermine IBM's immensely lucrative business market selling big blue computers. In 1980, IBM finally realized it had to do something and launched a highly streamlined project to save its business. 1 year later, it released the IBM personal computer based on an Intel 8080 microprocessor, which rapidly reversed the company's fortunes and stole the market back from Apple. The PC was successful essentially for one reason: all the dozens of microcomputers that had been launched in the 1970s, including the Apple II, were incompatible. All used different hardware and worked in different ways. Most were programmed using a simple English language called BASIC, but each one has its own flavor of BASIC, which was tied closely to the machine's hardware design. As a result, programs written for one machine would generally not run on another one without a great deal of conversion. Companies who wrote software professionally typically wrote it for just one machine, and consequently there was no software industry to speak of. In 1976, Gary Kildall, 1942 to 1994, a teacher and computer scientist and one of the founders of the Homebrew Computer Club, had figured out a solution to this problem. Kildall wrote an operating system called CPM that acted as an intermediary between the user's programs and the machine's hardware. With a stroke of genius, Kildall realized that all he had to do was rewrite CPM so it worked on each different machine. Then all those machines could run identical user programs without any modification at all inside CPM. That would make all the different microcomputers compatible at a stroke. By the early 1980s, Kildall had become a multimillionaire through the success of his invention, the personal computer operating system. Naturally, when IBM was developing its personal computer, it approached him hoping to put CPM on its own machines. Legend has that Kildall was out flying his personal plane when IBM called, so missed out on one of the world's greatest deals, but the truth seems to have been that IBM wanted to buy CPM outright for $200,000, while Kildall recognized his product was worth millions more and refused to sell. Instead, IBM turned to a young programmer named Bill Gates, 1955. His then tiny company, Microsoft, rapidly put together an operating system called DOS, based on a product called QDOS, Quick and Dirty Operating System, which they acquired from Seattle Computer Products. Some believe Microsoft and IBM cheated Kildall out of his place in computer history. Kildall himself accused them of copying his ideas. Others think Gates was simply the shrewder businessman. Either way, the IBM PC, powered by Microsoft's operating system, was a runaway success. Yet IBM's victory was short-lived. Cannily, Bill Gates had sold IBM rights to one flavor of DOS, PC-DOS, and retained the rights to a very similar version, MS-DOS, for his own use. When other computer manufacturers, notably Compaq and Dell, started making IBM compatible or cloned hardware, they too came to Gates for the software. IBM charged a premium for machines they carried its badge, but consumers soon realized that PCs were commodities. They contained almost identical components. An Intel microprocessor, for example, no matter whose name they had on the case. As IBM lost market share, the ultimate victors were Microsoft and Intel, who were soon supplying the software and hardware for almost every PC on the planet. Apple, IBM, and Kildall made a great deal of money but failed to capitalize decisively on their early success. Okay, thanks everyone. In the next video I'll do the user revolution. Thanks, like and subscribe.